Are you guys ready to roll? Should we do it? So welcome artists and guests. Thank you for joining us for this Art with Elders Share event. And I'm Darcy, you know me, artist instructor and also the exhibitions director. And today our program artists from the Open Studios and the Davis Senior Center groups will present a favorite piece of work that they have created as a part of the classes. Each featured artist will have up to 5 minutes to talk about their inspiration for the presented work and why they feel it is their favorite or most successful piece so far. And you can type comments or questions into the chat box if you want to get it in there while you're thinking of it, or you can just save it up till the end. Hopefully, as I said, I think we'll have a little time at the end, and we can have questions or conversation back and forth. You can ask individual artists about their pieces or general things. We've got Mark, our executive director. You guys, most of you know Mark, I think already, and we can kind of go around and introduce maybe some of the guests at the end. How about that one? Hopefully we'll have the full complement of everybody who's joined on. Right, and we've got Larry and Susan. They've been with the program a long time, so I put them up here as kind of the cover art, and they will be featured later. And so here's our group of artists that are featured today. Melinda Allen, John Collister, Pat Garrett, Shirley Keller, Classy Kendrick, Fran Marcus, Carol Martin, Susan Mccown, Larry Mccown, Pamela Osborne, Kate Talbot, Marianne Taylor, Paula Shida, Gail Wanamaker, and Incio Che and Chelsea Lee. All right, thank you, you guys. And John, would you be able to kick us off here?
Okay. Yeah, this is a copy of the Japanese watercolor. Okay, I was trying to just enhance my skills with watercolor. I find it really hard to do. So, but I'm a little better with the drawing part and the house and that. But I was trying to get the colors just so they kind of flowed into each other. And I think I actually succeeded fairly well here. The house is not quite identical to the one that was in the original. But it's close enough, and it really shows the Japanese style of the house. Also, there's always some little Japanese character who's partially bald, who's out there fishing somewhere or walking somewhere, and he's in the boat over there. The hardest part, I think, was actually the tree for me, trying to get the coloration right. For the watercolor that went over the tree and made the kind of, I tried to get a green color. It's appearing a lot darker here now than it was originally, at least where I thought it was. I just kind of like it. It turned out fairly nice, and I'm well pleased.
It's a beautiful job, John. And you have a little bit of time, so tell us. One of my favorite pieces is your It's All in the Eyes. We've used it for cover art for our exhibit. And of course, the Labyrinth, I think, was a really nice piece. You have often a surrealist style that you adopt. And so the All in the Eyes certainly shows us that. And the Labyrinth, it is more realistic, but it has a mysterious sort of quality that could be dreamlike or surrealist. Just tell us a couple words about those pieces.
Yeah, the eyes are taken off of a mural from San Francisco. And I tried to do the best I could with those, and I'm really kind of pleased. They're not quite like the originals, but I'm pleased with with the way in which they turned out. And I wanted to do and this is my first use of medium, so I tried to use it in terms of the background on this to kind of make it stand out. And I wanted 4 symbols of Hispanic kind of art or symbols. So the calla lily is always one. The cacti, of which I actually probably need to add, I might as well confess this right now, I need to add some dots to this. I was trying to do a cactus that was had not any stickers in it. You know, they eventually were able to produce that kind of cacti so that the cows could eat it out on the desert. The Labyrinth was another challenge, and I feel real good about how it finally turned out. I just had to work on it and rework it, And then after reworking it, I reworked it again in order to try to get the little bit of depth and difference in the colors, and yet still make them kind of blend a little. It was another challenge. As I said, when I first started this whole thing, I flunked out of a weekend watercolor class, not being able to do stick figures in the background. So
you've come a long way, John.
I've definitely come a long way. I did not think I had any talent in this area at all, so I'm enjoying it, which is the main thing.
Beautiful work, and you've done some beautiful stuff. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for explaining some of that for us. All right, and Pat Garrett, are you ready to
oh, goody.
Tell us a little bit about your work?
Wow. Well, what do I want to talk about? Okay, we'll talk about Remedios. I loved and hated this. I wouldn't say hate because that's pretty strong, but I had to work and rework, so I know what John means. And as you guys know from my presentation last week, once I let go of trying to be some great artist that had architectural abilities and all this other jazz, I just made it my own, and I had a ton more fun. And I love this very much because for me, being able to capture the spinning around of all things, the lifting up and just ascending out of here type of feeling, which this painting holds some other memory for me in researching her. Anyway, my favoriteest part of this, most favorite part, is my lines on the floor. And part of that is from my first time ever working with palette was in this class. So I made it really skinny and then I went over it. And so you don't know how many colors that floor was, but that's what it is now. And I really love this piece. So I felt like it wasn't what I wanted it to look like perfectly visually, but what I felt came out. And that's why it feels like a huge success to me. Plus it's my colors. And over here in the Rainbow Buddha, I love that because I didn't draw anything. I just smushed it with a brush in different colors. And then of course I had to work on his ear, but it was very easy and it was very freeing for me. And it also speaks to my spirit on a lot of levels. So it was fun to do. And my second ever was was the landscape down here. And I love my rocks. I worked so hard on those stones, and the two stones at the end that have the green around them just make my heart sing. So anyways, it's been a lot of fun playing with color and just helping me through a huge time of transition for me. So I have taken all those classes many years ago, but it's in there, but I never really stuck with it, and I lack the discipline, but I don't really care now because I just want to create. And I love this group because it allows for that expression, and then I get to see other people's, and it's really pushed me to try harder or to try different things and be okay with it. So.
Great. Thank you, Pat. It's been a pleasure to have you here. And thanks for, mentioning that kind of dynamic of the group. I think it helps us along in lots of ways to have each other to, look at how other people do things and just encouragement and all of it. So, and beautiful job with your work. I love how the light radiates on both the one with the rocks, the landscape, as well as the Remedio Varo likeness kind of image. And of course, the Buddha has quite a bit of light of a different sort there, and the dark backgrounds, and sort of what you were suggesting about having a preferred color palette, how your certain leanings kind of come out through the artist, just their preferences. And I'm very excited for you about, your growth in blending the colors and having control of the paint kind of having it do what you want, but also I like what you said of, I think it's good for us all, like you were using this another painting as an inspiration for the Remedio Varo, but then allowed yourself to depart from that at some point and gave you, now it's my painting and I'm taking it where I'm going to go. And so that, like you say, that your spirit and your feeling can emerge through it, which it really does. So beautiful work there. Thank you for sharing that, Pat. And then next we will go to Shirley Keller.
Okay, COVID started for me about the end of February last year. And I kind of knew, because I had some bacteriology experience when I was a young woman, I knew we were in for a bad time. And then my last open house for my studio was the first Saturday in March. And then we all went full-fledged into isolation and not going anywhere, no more restaurants, our play group stopped, everything stopped. Grandkids, oh, I so miss my grandkids and my children. We did not have our Thanksgiving this year, blah, blah, blah. So everybody's been experiencing that. But about halfway through the year, people started feeding back, and the words like isolation, sadness, started coming up, and people were expressing nothing but negative feelings about it. And I had this reality check that I didn't feel that way at all. I just missed my family. But I was enjoying my studio and being alone and uninterrupted days to do whatever I wanted. And I found out about this class through Susan and Marianne and met all of you. And it has just been a productive, exciting, creative year for me. And so I decided to express it. And somebody in the class, that's maybe Darcy, said Black backgrounds sometimes do some amazing things to art. And so I painted this black. I found this quote a long time ago that Rumi said, "A little while alone in your studio will prove more valuable than anything else that could be given to you." I realized this quote expressed exactly how I felt, so I decided to do this piece of art. Also, I hadn't been painting with paintbrushes very much. I've been mostly painting with toothpicks, doing dots forever. And so I pulled out a paintbrush and started with the swashes, and then started with the dots and put COVID-19 around the edges, because that was framing what I was trying to express. So anyway, that's what the piece is.
You'd like to tell us a little bit about the two pieces on the right?
The one I love the most is the deer coming down a buck. I was with, I think, my stepdaughter Delia. We were on a hike, and I had my camera around my neck, and we were below on a lower trail, and I looked up, and this buck was coming down toward us, and I took a picture. And then that is a painting from the picture. And for me to try to paint something realistic is an extreme challenge. And every time I look at this, I'm like shocked. I did that. And the other one is celebrating. Well, first we were told to do abstract. So of course I had to pick dots and circles and, so was my experiment with abstract art.
I forget what the assignment was when you did the deer. We had done some international like world art things and the abstracts and those kind of overlapped a little bit. And I get the feeling and flavor of those themes both in all of your work, really. But beautiful
Well,
job.
it was landscape and animal.
Oh, okay, right. Fantastic landscape. And I do like to see how you've experimented with the black background there. And we've talked about it, and a lot of you have tried to see how does it look if, you know, lighter versus darker backgrounds. It certainly has a different effect. All right, we're going to move along. And thank you, Shirley, for that beautiful work and for your presentation.
Thanks, Shirley. Thank you.
And
You're welcome.
this is a piece by Classy Kendrick. She's with the Davis Center group. I had opened the invitation to a couple of different class groups to join us today, and Classy was gracious enough to send these works. And she has exhibited with us before in a number of shows. And the piece on the corner right was her submission for the Heartworks show for Valentine's Day that we did. And I think these other two pieces are newer. She hasn't sent them prior for exhibit, but they will go into the show that we create from today. And so we have the Flower Power.
2 o'clock.
And it reminds me a little bit of a Georgia O'Keeffe theme of where you just really zoom in on a natural subject such as a flower. And it has those bright, intensified colors. When you're really looking closely and carefully at nature, you get to know the color better. And she's really kind of made a friend of color here with these bright oranges. And then she's got sort of a pinkish sky and some blue in the background. And beautiful, beautiful work. And I love this kind of close-up composition that she's taken. And it's a little bit almost like an abstract because she's let it flow off, the flower flows off the page. So it's not even capturing the entire subject of the flower. It's more about the overall feeling of the whole piece. And on the right side on the top is as you can see, a silhouette tree. And the tree has no leaves on it. It seems like a winter tree, and then kind of a soft watercolor background. Again, I see that she's, you know, kind of maybe experimenting with how color can work, and she's got quite a bit of a variety of color in the background there. So beautiful job to Classy Kendrick, and thank you for participating, Classy. And this is by Fran Marcus. Tell us about this work, Fran.
These are 3 works of art are all very different, and I think it speaks to all the wonderful experimentation that we've been encouraged to do in Darcy's class. So the main one is Frida Kahlo, and that's an acrylic, and I hadn't really done much in acrylics before, so this was a new thing for me. And I love her art. And so I looked at a lot of her self-portraits, and then I kind of drew this and then painted it in with acrylics. And I had also been doing abstract portraits that were more Picasso-esque. So for some reason, that really appeals to me, the abstract and the abstract portraits. So that's Frida Kahlo. And then the one in the top, Creativity Takes Courage, was a still life that came out of my head, I guess. I looked at we had a ceramic pot similar to the one in the picture, and I used that as a model. But I think I looked at Matisse when I was doing the perspective and the table and the walls and the way he did different colors. Use different colors. So, and that one was done in marker. I got some very nice high quality markers, and I did that one in marker. And then the third one was a COVID piece that I just felt I had to do. And that's a mixed media thing. I've taken several mixed media classes, and this is basically things that were collage type work, where I cut things out and manipulated them and put them together. And then in the middle, there's a poem by Pamela Osborne about living with uncertainty in the time of COVID. So I like all these different techniques that we used. It's just really kind of fun to try different things. And anyway, that's the story.
Great. Well, thank you, Fran, for that. Yeah, I know when you first started, you had bought the new markers and you were trying out to get, the rich colors, the really good quality markers, because you like that fine line and I think sort of a sense of precision. And the acrylics is a different feel. It doesn't necessarily lend itself to that precise kind of work necessarily, although you can still see in your Frida piece that you have controlled it and contained it in a precise way. What was that experience of working? How does it feel for you when you're doing acrylic on board?
I liked it. It's definitely different than doing the markers, but I'm getting used to it, and I need to get some better brushes to, do what I want to do a little bit more easily. But yeah, I like the intense colors you can get with acrylic and the kind of the depth.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, definitely that we've talked about that. The quality materials can really take your work where you want it to go. And I'm so excited for you for, branching out and going off in different directions, trying different media. And I think it's really strengthens everybody, all of us as artists, to try these different approaches and see what they offer. And so beautiful job with those pieces. And this your COVID collage is really, really powerful. And just want to, really give you a good compliments for how strong I feel that is, and has that very somber and powerful feeling that expresses the depth of that COVID experience. So nice, well done on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Fran. Carol Martin, tell us a little bit about your work.
The temple was a period where you had chosen a subject to delve into other types of artwork. And I took that as going into other types of architecture. Egyptology is one of my favorite studies. And I've always been interested in the beginning of languages, hieroglyphics, etc. So that's why I chose this, the way the lighting is on the actual picture of this. This is known as the Gold Temple. It was done in the dynastic period. And a lot of these hieroglyphics that you see on these buildings actually speak to about 42 different tribes that existed in this area just off of the Nile in the Aswan area in the eastern desert of Africa. And most of it was sandstone, but the flooring of it is mostly granite. But anyway, in painting this, I used acrylics, oils, and also an artist pen. And with this picture, I introduced to myself the use of iridescent or metallic turquoise blue, and then a metallic brown, or kind of like a burnt sienna or a burnt umber, and introduced that on everything. And then, of course, we were talking about just shortly after this perspective. So I wanted to show the different angles of the perspective. So that's what this is. And this temple is called the Kom Umbo temple. And the bird family, I think you were telling us our subject was to pick an animal, or I think we were doing birds. I'm not quite sure, don't remember, but to do a composition with the birds within their area. Anyway, so it's the mama bird and two chicks. That was done in acrylics. And you'll notice that most of my paintings, I work with palette knives, not so much brushes a lot. And this shows a lot of my palette knife angles with the branches. And then I use a special squidgy type to help me blend and work with the colors. I also did a little brush on that. And then the other one, is the ocean landscape. I just finished for my son. It was a challenge to me in working with quick drying paints on a huge canvas. And so I did learn a lesson there, and it's acrylics. Some parts of it might be a little bit of oil, but mostly acrylics with a palette knife, and also used a bristle brush to do a lot of the dabs that create the clouds. And the more I look at it, the more I enjoy it. Now, the brown stream that you see, which was designed by the palette knife, actually, you could read it as rocks on the shore, or actually it's a piece of a ship that has disintegrated and that was cushioned or resting in that particular space. And then you see a wave coming in and then the storm coming in. That was done in acrylics, palette knife, and oils. And so I learned how to work with acrylics on a large space. That was challenging.
Carol, how big was the canvas?
It's 3 foot by 2.5. It's all stretched canvas. The birds were done on board, but the temple and the seascape or the ocean landscape is done on stretched canvas. I like stretched canvas because of the pliability of it. Don't care so much for the board, but I will use the board, and I've done a lot for examples in these Art with Elders classes, but that's what it is, 36 by 2.5 feet. I'm doing another one now the same size, but so anyway, those are my pieces.
Yeah, beautiful work, Carol, and you're a very prolific artist. You get a lot of work done pretty quickly and to great effect. And I love it that you're branching out in different sizes and that you use different types of canvas board, and you've been working on wood. You're always, have that free experimenting style. And I've really enjoyed the work that you did on the temple piece with the palette knife. It's very interesting to see how the palette knife lays on the paint. It's a little different feeling for using it, and it has a different look in the final result. And I love the big landscape. It's sort of hard to look at something that is that large in a situation here where we have it at 2 inches on the screen to really get the real feeling of how the effect that it can have. And we've talked about this, how size can have impact. And so hopefully we'll have all these pieces in a real show someday so we can really see in person how they look as well. Beautiful, beautiful work. Yeah, so thank you, Carol, and thank you for being a part of our class.
Oh, it's fun. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. And so we're going to go to Susan Mccown. She isn't able to be here today. As I mentioned earlier, her husband, Larry, just came home from the hospital, and the two of them are adjusting to some new things at home. But she really wanted me to share this piece, which is called They Have Names in capital letters, she told me. And it's a collage piece, like magazine cutout imagery that reflects as you can see, a somber subject matter of the COVID situation. Well, it's got these gravestones, and it's outside of a small town, which you can see the little town to the right and the road flowing around it. And it's a beautifully done collage, the way she's put these little cloud pieces together. And speaking of perspective, the kind of unusual perspective that can be created through collage very successfully, as she has done here. And it's a beautiful piece. It's exciting to look at. But yet it does take you aback because that somber nature of the subject, like I said, she's very deeply affected by the goings on of the world and responds to those through her art. And I think it helps her kind of move through some of these difficult things and times. And on the left, you'll see the one called Vessel, which is drawn in pen and ink. And it beautifully done, a simple object on a white ground, just the line drawing there. But it has so much energy and motion in it, beautiful patterning, and the beautiful quality of the line work there, the lighter and darker lines, and the organic feeling of them. I think that's it doesn't have to be complicated or take long to create something beautiful and powerful. Although there's a lot of detail, and she may have spent a fair amount of time on that. And then lower is a Bird of Paradise, worked in colored pencil here, and a little bit of watercolor. I think she finished it out with. Beautiful, fun composition. Again, that close-up of the flower always gives me the flash on Georgia O'Keeffe, but she really does use her own style here. And it's really focused close so that flower is filling the whole page and kind of exploding like a firecracker almost, and softer in the background. So all very successful. And again, like many of our artists here today, showing such a wide range of using different materials and different media, and being really willing to experiment and try things, which is so powerful and so exciting to watch for me. So thank you to Susan Mccown, and maybe I'll interview her and add it to this video later so we can really have her in person talk about this. And likewise with Larry. Larry and Susan met at Vallejo Hills, where I was teaching at a time, and they got to know each other in the art class and got married a few years ago, years it's been. I was the photographer at their wedding and have become good friends with these two. And Larry works digital artwork on the computer, and he's created these graphic design style images. He was not previously an artist, but he wanted to express himself creatively. And he started by using coloring pages and coloring in like mandalas or geometric designs. And then I told him I love to do graphic design, and he started bringing his computer to class and working with software. And I've been coaching him a little bit with what I know on that. And so he's created lots of different simple forms, but very strong and beautiful. This radiant hues piece has a certain type of an energy flow around the way the shapes are put together that really appeals to me, and the color palette that he chose. The Heart of Many Colors, we have, that was featured in our Art with Elders calendar this year. It's a striking image that grabs people right away. It's a universally understood message of love for all. And he did a beautiful job to express himself in that way. And down below, and again, just being playful with the, coloration and design and trying out the tools. And I've actually been working with him recently on how to integrate photographs and modify photographs. And so he's starting kind of turning a page and getting into some new types of work. So I'm excited to see what's ahead for him. And we wish him well in his recovery. Pamela Osborne, tell us a little bit about your work.
Okay, it's kind of interesting. Years ago, I've taken lots of classes, art classes in university, and had shows years ago. And for the last 3 years, when I was living in Wisconsin, I set up my studio and didn't do anything at all, nothing. And felt really sad about that. And when I moved to Arizona, I was talking, with Melinda about the class, and I thought, man, that would kickstart me again. And that's what I love about this class. It's very accepting and very nurturing. And so I just kind of started playing around with it again. And I think the very first thing that we did as an assignment was to do a copy of a artist that we really loved. And so I did Monet, and I was kind of shocked because it actually looked good. So it kind of got me excited about getting back into doing things. And years ago when I was, I did shows, I did a lot of work in blues and monochromatic colors. And I'm not quite sure what that's about, but anyway, I did a lot of that with Surrealism. So I started playing. The first one, the water landscape, I put a black background on, or no, I put a navy blue. Yeah, that was the navy blue one. And kind of played around with that. And I didn't even think about what it was. It just kind of started putting the brush in, and the colors just started coming. It's kind of interesting how that one kind of flows to the Blue Woman. And the Blue Woman was just, I was doing abstract, and I'd seen something on PBS on a women's feminist show, and I really liked some of the images. They were doing that kind of thing with just muted one color. And I thought, well, I'm going to try this. And so I did. And I layered it first with that one was like the really bright rust color. That was the underneath layer. And then everything else just kind of came together. And the COVID one is, it's okay. To me, it's not really great. And I think it was, when I did it, it was about underneath the COVID symbol was the earth and the ground and the grass. And so there was like a light underneath it. So there was kind of hope. But what's been so exciting is I've gotten into back, and my art studio is now alive and well, and real. And I'm using all these different ideas. I just got done with a big kind of surrealistic Black Lives Matter piece, collage that I just did. And I really, really enjoyed putting that together. And now I'm working on something else. So, I mean, I think that's what this class is all about, is just getting excited about art again, and not having to define it, not having to label it, not saying this is this or this is that, it's just what it is. So anyway, I guess that's it.
Great. Well, thank you, Pamela. And just kind of to talk a little bit about your COVID-19 piece, although you felt sort of lukewarm about it in context with your other work. But yet I put it here because I find it strong just because of that gigantic red COVID symbol. And I do get that earth and moon sort of feeling with it, that, that's what it is. And I just think the composition is kind of striking and cool, that it has that big symbol in the center and has this vast landscape feeling that's a little bit ethereal and almost surreal behind it. So I think it's a beautiful piece. And the Blue Woman I love too. I love how strong it is, how those eyes are kind of searing out into the distance, and the strong colors and thick paint. And like you said, the kind of flows in the similar style with the water landscape in your hand, how your brush strokes work and the flow of paint. And I really love the free feeling of it. And it's interesting how you describe the water landscape as not necessarily starting with the concept, but just laying the paint in and seeing where it went. And we have talked in the class a bit about, whether you do a plan ahead of time and work your way in, or you go in cold and let the art, muse take you as you work, and both of which can be good approaches to try. So beautiful work here. And it's really been fun to have you as part of our class and watch you explore and get back to work. So, thank you again for joining in with us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the Blue Woman is a lot of palette knife. And I love working with palette knife with oils. So it was interesting. It was my first experience with working with acrylics. So it was fun. But I that's what I love about our class, is we're doing all these new exciting things. So thank you, Darcy.
Yeah, thank you for being game to try different things and go off in different directions. I like to throw out a lot of different, information out there. And you guys are awesome about picking up the ball and just taking off and running. All right, let's go down to Kay Talbot. How's Kay? Are you there, Kay? Unmute if you're on mute, and let us know about your work today.
Well, I am here, and I want to talk a little bit about the major Homo sapien color and motion piece. This was the first painting I did on canvas board. It's acrylic. And I painted it horizontally. And when I looked at it, I was just painting for the joy of putting color on something. I didn't have anything in mind other than that, and to see how the acrylics would look on the canvas board. And when I painted it, I looked at it when it was done and I said, this is just not very interesting. So I played around with it and I turned it vertical. And then I found this figure that's in the center in the red, pinkish red, which to me is holding a book in a right hand, and down at the bottom, maybe holding a stick in the left hand that's kind of dark red. And the figure has the head moving forward and really, I think, captures the feeling of motion, the colors in motion. Actually, I didn't really discover the book until recently. So I've looked at this piece several times, and I picked it because for me, abstract, the meaning is in the eye of the beholder. So that's my take on this piece, and other people would have their own. The other two items, the Skyfire piece down at the bottom, we had during the fires last year. We had a day that was mostly orange and pink because of the sun was not making it through all this smoke. And when I looked outside, that's kind of what I saw. So I quickly grabbed a sponge and just tried to capture the moment of what it was like. So that's what that piece is about. The Golden Forest is an off-take of a picture that I have hanging in my living room. And I actually drew the trees in and then put in the background. So I learned with this picture that it really is better if you start with the background and then maybe do the other stuff. But I enjoyed doing it. It kind of looks like it could be a fire in the sky a little bit. But it's very vivid colors, and the green didn't quite come out to match the color that is in the original picture that I have. It's a very bright green, and this is a more muted green. But I like it. And, when I first walked into my first session here at Vallejo Hills and met Darcy, I had not had a regular art class. I hadn't had much art experience at all. And I had no idea what might happen. And it's just been such a pleasure to get to know everybody and see the work that's being done and just experience the process. So I thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, Kay. Great. Very interesting to hear about how people's work develops. And I love your Homo sapien piece, the freedom and how you approached that, and then kind of allowed the art to direct how you would carry to finish the piece out. And it sort of took on a life of its own with this character emerging, and perhaps even like a narrative that a viewer might be able to see there. And of course, the Skyfire, I well recall that red day. So it's just beautiful how you've captured that feeling of that moment. And I love it that you had that sense of urgency to just grab your materials and sponge and capture that impression of the moment. It's very powerful and gorgeous, really. And likewise, the golden forest, yeah, it doesn't have it, even though it could be construed in a fiery sense with that bright gold back there. It does look like just the beautiful dawning of natural light to me. And I love the composition, the way you did the trees, how the branches are kind of touching each other a little bit. It's sort of an elegant arrangement, and how the relationship of the trees, and a beautiful job with that. And it's been a pleasure to get to know you over these years. And I'm glad you were able to make the leap from meeting in person to be with our online group. And always, appreciate yourself as a person and contribution in addition to your art. So thank you for being here, Kay.
Thank you.
Marianne Taylor, tell us a little bit about these pieces, especially starting with Heart in the Desert.
The desert scene was what came out of your request that we do something for Valentine's Day. And we had been on a hike in Utah, the Fiery Furnace, which is a maze that you hike through. And just as we were about ready to exit this maze, we saw this cactus that was shaped like a heart. So I took a picture of it. And so it was what popped into my mind when we were talking about doing something for Valentine's Day. And the thing this is acrylic, and I was experimenting, trying to get the picture, the colors of the picture that I had taken, similar to mixing the colors for this piece of art. And that was how I was quite proud of the fact that I had gotten the colors very close to the picture that I had taken. So, and I liked the texture that I was able to bring forth in this painting. So those were two of the things that really stood out for me, that made me proud of this particular piece of artwork. To the left at the top is a waterfall. We were in upstate New York, and we were hiking in Watkins Glen State Park, and it was mainly stairs that you went up to get to the top of this waterfall. And it was made of shale and limestone, and so the pattern that was being formed by the water was just unbelievable. And so when we were, I don't remember the assignment right now, Darcy, that made me think of painting this. But anyway, I went to my pictures from our trip. I get inspired through the photography, the things that I've taken for most of my art. And this was so dramatic as far as the way the water was flowing into this sort of narrow canyon kind of a thing, and the colors. And I was worked to try to get the distinction of how the water had worn away the sides of the mount, the hills. And this whole area was like this. So that was the inspiration was from something that I'd seen. And on that same trip, we had never been to Niagara Falls. And we stayed on the US side, which a lot of people say it's better to go across to the Canadian side, and it's more, the view is better, but the power that you feel on the American side is unbelievable. So basically, I had taken pictures of the Niagara River, and it was almost like you were in a sea, like in the ocean, because of the rolling feel of the waves. And this is a watercolor also, but I used a little bit of acrylic to try to get the feel of the power of the water moving. And then there was an island. So we were on one side, we went across this bridge, the other side. And then you get another whole shot of the river going over the edge of the, the hill. I mean, the flow of the water. But anyway, I was pleased that I got some of the feel of the power of the water as it was flowing towards the falls. So that's and I wanted to share again the fact that you are giving us a chance to experience different types of medium. We've done collage, we've done watercolors, we've done acrylic, and I think it gives us a chance to really stretch ourselves. And we usually stay with one type of medium long enough that you can explore different kinds of things. And that's really been helpful for me as a beginning artist. I had joined Susan and Larry for my very first experience, probably back in September before COVID. So that long ago, not this September, but prior. And started on one of my first pieces. And Larry had said, "You've got this kit, watercolor kit sitting on the hearth. Why don't you join us over at Vallejo Hills?" That kit, that watercolor kit, had been sitting there for a whole year almost. And I'm just, thinking, well, one of these days I'll open it up and try something. Well, Darcy, you created something wonderful that I was able to start exploring. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Ann. Wonderful work. Thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting, as I mentioned, to hear what inspires everybody. And I know you're a traveler, and it's wonderful that you're able to use your own photographs to use as your base for your art. And you've come a long way in your growth as an artist. As you mentioned, known you back since prior September, a year and a half back, I guess. And you have been also a great force in helping us build the online class when we first came on, finding like-minded friends to join us. And I just love to look at your work. I feel the sense of energy and movement that you were saying you were striving for, particularly in the water pieces, and that the courageousness that I feel from all of you in this class about jumping in and just taking these challenges of what is it going to look like, how am I going to create art when I'm new to this, and just jumping right in and boldly moving ahead with great results. So wonderful work, and it's really fun to see your work develop and watch you expand yourself as an artist and gain confidence too. I hope and I feel that many of you are be able to build your confidence through this work. And I think it is such a support to have the group. It helps us all stay continuing to practice, because we have each other to join in together, to work together. So thank you, Mary Ann. And Paula Shida, tell us a little bit about your work, please.
It's fun to hear how everybody started in this class. And Mary Ann and Fran, thank you very much. They're the ones that told me about it. So I like hearing all the stories and appreciate everybody sharing their work here, because it's so inspiring to see what everyone has created. The one on the left is my favorite. We did a lot of different assignments before we got to landscapes. And when we got to that one, I think that Darcy showed us 3 different possibilities for us to work on. And this one caught my eye at the beginning. And what I like about it is that it's done in acrylics. And because of that, I was able to do a lot of work blending the colors and making them brighter. And I like them because they are bright, but they also show a very vibrant landscape. Yet at the same time, it feels pastoral and calm to me. I like that the colors came out the way I want them, because that's really hard to achieve sometime. And it just seemed a lot easier to do that with the acrylics than with the watercolors. The second thing I like about this picture is the composition. I like the way the lines are horizontal, even though a little curving along the top with the trees and the mountains and the fields. And then down at the bottom, they become diagonal. And to me, they seem to indicate cultivated land or landscape that's been farmed in some way, which brought me to the horse and the cart, or maybe tractor. I'm not sure what it is, but it made me feel like a symbol of the fact that we have so much dependence on the land, because it symbolized farming to me. And because it's such a small part of the picture, it made me, it contrasted for me the big expanse of the landscape. So that I really do like it because of all of those three things that I mentioned. Now the hydrangea in the right-hand corner, hydrangeas are my favorite flower. And I have discovered recently that you can find anything that you would like on YouTube. So I went to YouTube and they showed how to paint a hydrangea. And it really did help me with the leaves, because their leaves are very accurate with little points on them, and the way that they did the veins in them, and then the little white blossoms that are on the top of the hydrangea and the shading. So I really enjoyed doing that too. Then the one on the bottom was my surrealist effort. Now the surrealism, I wasn't really very familiar with, but when we talked about it, we talked a lot about the dreamlike quality, the sometimes bizarre nature of surrealism, the characteristics being things that are unexpected. Sometimes they're distorted. Sometimes you assemble objects that don't really have any association. So I was thinking about all of those things when I did this. I was particularly thinking about one picture that you showed us, Darcy, and it had a picture of a dining room chair on a sand on the beach. So that didn't make any sense. And so most of it doesn't make any sense. So then I thought a lot about whether these artists have a plan in mind when they do a surrealist painting, or is it just random? And I think that probably varies with the artist. But I decided I'd start with a plan. So with this one, I have the four elements of the earth: fire, water, air, and land. And I put those all in the background. So you've got the water on the top, the earth on the bottom, and the fire behind the frog. And then the air is the gust of wind up at the top. So after I had the background, then I got three unassociated objects: the spoon, the frog, and the rose. But I actually chose them with some kind of sense in mind, because the frog represented the animal world, and the rose represents the plant world, and then the spoon represents things that are made from the earth. So that was my thinking about that. But I am still wondering how many surrealist paintings have that kind of thinking behind them, or if they're just done randomly. So next time I'm going to try to do one randomly without making a plan.
Great. Thank you, Paula, for that great explanation of your work process and thoughts about the class in general. It's a beautiful piece, your work with the countryside landscape. I can see, like you mentioned, your interest and attention to the blending, and I love looking at the sky, the way there's sort of these little bit of textural feeling of the clouds and sky, the blue and gray and the white puffiness, and then all the different other areas that you also mentioned about the tree line versus the countryside in the back, and then the cultivated fields to the front with that different angle. And I just like your loose approach and the color, the way you handled the color there. And again, I just applaud everybody for experimenting and taking chances and pushing yourselves to see where these things will go. I realize for many of you, these have been unfamiliar steps, as we've moved along through the class, and I can feel your sense of accomplishment and your sense of skillfulness with the media, the various media emerging for sure. And beautiful job with the hydrangea. I kind of sense that a feeling of reverence on your part for the flowers. There's a softness to it. And I love how you did the background again with the soft brushwork and coloration to allow the flowers to be sharp. And appreciate that you not only have just come for class, but that you've taken on art, along on the side too, checking out how to do YouTube videos. We've done research for presentations. I know you did a little research for Surrealism, and we did have that conversation in class about different artists sometimes bringing an idea for a project, especially in Surrealism, or really flowing with unconscious and allowing, having a priority of letting unconscious unfold ahead of conscious planning. So I'll be curious to see if you try that approach of sort of automatic painting or collage work and just going with no idea and seeing what happens. But I think you did a wonderful job with the frog and spoon and rose and fire and air, all these elements. It's a fun, playful, it has a playful sense, but it really does fit very suitably into that surrealist style. So nicely done, Paula, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
And let's see, we have Gail. Gail, as I mentioned earlier, has a family event happening today at her house, and she's told me that she wouldn't really be able to unmic herself. And so she provided a little bit of information that I was going to read, and I'm just going to check in with Gail to see if that's still the case. Gail, are you able to tune in?
I can come in. It's quiet. They just went outside.
Okay, would you like to present this rather than me then? That would be great.
Okay. My favorite picture so far has been the heron. And that's because of my very good friend Helene. She lives in the country, and she lives 3.5 hours from here. And every time we go down a road, we see herons and we see lilies, and we haven't seen a frog jump yet. But anyway, so I wanted to capture that memory because I just miss that component. This class was really great for me because I was able to take away some of the color in this heron that I hated, and I was going to get rid of the picture. And then you guys started teaching you could subtract watercolor once you put it down. So it worked. And then you were also showing a mixture in terms of watercolors and what they do if you blend them. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, let me try that. And then one of the other ladies who participates did some trees. And I was like, well, I wonder if I could apply that to my cattails. So I started combining techniques and working on this, and I ended up loving it because then it ended up going into this conservation awareness poster campaign in California, and I'm in Columbus, Ohio. And I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. I've never entered a piece of art like that before, so that was really fun to do. The dress form in the top right was my first paint collage, vintage lace, and an old tobacco box with a plume coming out of it and a dress form. And I did this because Darcy gave us a challenge of doing an artist presentation. And I couldn't just do an artist because when I was going to do my presentation, I was like, well, where did the history start of this? Because I'd never researched that before. And so then I found 3 and then 4. And then I decided, crap, I'll just Google the history of mannequins and see where that takes me. And that opened up a plethora of insight. And I was really ecstatic. And I just kind of had to take a piece from this one and a piece from that. And so I ended up doing my old thing. I used a piece of lace from my family. I actually painted it on because I didn't know how to glue it. So I just put it in the paint and said, we'll just see what happens. At least with the paint, I can wash it out. And then I just took other buttons and things and pieces of watercolor board that I had done and put it at the bottom. The bottom picture on the right, this will be emotional, is my son, who is holding up the heel of a high heel shoe that is full of Jeter. The pink ribbon stands for the fact that I was a 4-time breast cancer survivor, and RJ's under it because since the age of 8, when we weren't going to be able to do Thanksgiving dinner, he's been cooking Thanksgiving dinners. And then Jeter just had his little surgery for getting fixed. And there he is holding Jeter, just loving him patiently. And I thought, I've got to do something with that child and that dog and a ribbon. And so Darcy asked us to do something with surrealism. And I was like, oh, I have no clue what that is. And she kept showing us pictures. And I was like, some of it was just too far out there for me. So I was like, okay, I have to go and do some research. So I ordered a couple books from the library. Thank heavens our library opened. And I was able to get some books and look at it. And then the next thing I knew, I was like, well, I can actually do a shoe. I was going to do a dress form, and then I thought I could do a shoe. And so that's what I did. And I ordered pictures through Shutterfly, and I was able to get enough pictures of Jeter that I could put him in the shoe. The grass is all the leftover pictures. And so that's how that came to be. But for me, the best thing about participating in this program is the fact that it's so diverse. We're not judged by what we do or don't do. We're critiqued with love and kindness. And I think that that makes everything so much supportive. This has been the best year of my life because I've had programs like this. So I celebrate COVID and say, bring it on for another year. It won't matter to me. I just think that the outstanding opportunities that have been given to seniors, if you know where to look, are just outstanding. And I think it's just so impressive when you can participate in something that's rich and fun and pleasant and educational all at the same time. And my girlfriend laughed, Helene laughed, said, I thought you were supposed to be downsizing. And I said, oh, don't even go there because I have no clue where I'm going to put all the stuff that I'm making now when a bag of buttons took up a lot less room than a canvas. And so, but it is what it is. It's been an awesome experience, and I just look forward to it even getting better.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for that, Gail. Beautiful work. And as many of us know, Gail had started as a fabric artist with quilting. And so she's expanded into painting and collage, and she brings a lot of her fabric work to blend there. And I love your enthusiasm and energy, Gail. It's always a pleasure to have you joining us and as a member of our team. Fantastic work. Beautiful job. And thank you for sharing, yourself and your personal history. That's another opportunity of our class where we get to know each other and kind of share more personally about who we are as people, not just as artists. So beautiful, and thank you for that. And we have a piece by Incio and Chelsea. I don't think they're on board with us today, but they often join us for class. Incio Che is another instructor, but she takes time to paint with us on Saturdays with her daughter, Chelsea Lee. And these are Water Lilies and Mocktails by Incio and Chelsea. And I think that's what we have, but I want to go back to the top and have Melinda tell us about her piece, and then we'll have a few minutes left to talk with each other and perhaps ask some questions of the artist. So Melinda, are you there?
I am. Hello, hello.
Hello. Tell us about your work.
Yeah, thanks for bumping me back. That was really, I just love that we did this little show. Seeing everybody's work was so cool. So I had not chosen pieces for Darcy, and she chose 3. And then we talked yesterday, and we had both, and I had sort of thought about it, but I didn't send anything in. And both of our picks were this Buddha, the Buddha arm. And it was a still life was the assignment. And I have this little bronze Buddha. And that's, I just focused in and did this kind of zoomed in piece of his arm. That was our first piece was kind of copycat, an artist we like. And then this was the second. So it was the second time I'd actually painted and used watercolors, like maybe ever. And I really was kind of drawing with the watercolor because I was really unfamiliar with how it works and stuff. But I like the outcome. I took a picture before adding the blue background. And it's kind of 6 in one, half dozen the other. It's pretty different where it's just stark white than with this blue. But I like the Buddha arm quite a bit. And when I was talking with Darcy yesterday about what pieces would be in the show, and I had seen what she had selected, I kind of thought, well, let's put a portrait in. And by portrait, I just mean that my pencil drawings, so I've got a couple of faces and a lot of cats because I was doing that cat a day at the beginning of the pandemic and then gave up on that. So this cat is my favorite cat, and it's actually entitled Qua because of the expression on his face. Yes, I like that. I like that cat. And then the landscape, I think that was possibly the first and only landscape, really. I mean, no, we've done some other landscapes. That's right. This was when other people were doing the field, and we've seen that in today's show with the horse and plow or buggy. She gave us 3 options, and I went with this one. And it was acrylic, which I've had a struggle with, or just have found acrylic challenging to figure out. And this worked out pretty well. So it was a really good exercise. And I do like it. There was a little guy, there was a human figure out at the end of I guess that's a jetty, I'm not sure. And I took a little artistic license and was like, nope, that'll be too difficult. So he was deleted. So keep it simple. So there you go. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Melinda. And yeah, it was really hard to narrow it down for all of the artists,
Right.
Looking, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, about putting together the show and realizing the great body of work that we have as a group and individually as people have joined on and added to our group rather. And so there's so much good work, and it's hard to select out 1 or 2 pieces to stand as a representative for the artist. But yeah, we both gravitated to this Buddhist treasure, as we've called it, because it's unusual and it's an interesting perspective, and it's very nice, skillfully done. And I think the blue watery looking background gives it a kind of an edgy, mysterious feeling about, brings in curiosity. And the portraits, Melinda, you have a great knack with portraiture in general. And yeah, again, choosing which one is hard. But you're also known to be a cat lady. So it wouldn't be complete to show you without having some kind of cat representation.
Right.
And beautifully executed drawing here, very well, finely done with the pencil. And it's also fun that we have several media, as other artists have also shown, where you've got a pencil drawing, a watercolor, and an acrylic, that you're able to tackle all these media and learn your way through,
Mm-hmm.
And so beautiful job with the landscape. Again, as I've also said, it's hard to see the actual, capture the beauty of the work at this size on a screen in this way. To get it, it's going to be another step even more beautiful to see it at actual size, and we will do that someday, have an actual show. But I'm so grateful that we do have this digital way to show things, and that we're able to take this time together today to share the work and celebrate you guys as artists and our class in general and our program, Art with Elders in general. It's a great opportunity for all of us. It's a great experience for all of us. And it's been a pleasure to be with you today, to meet the artists and see their work. And we're running short on our scheduled time, but our normal class time is a half an hour longer. And so I'd like to have people, if they would like to ask questions of the artists, to do that at this time. And so thank you, you guys. And let's take a couple of minutes for those that can stay on and would like to ask questions of the artists. Everybody can unmute yourself and you can shout it out, or you can click the little hand icon. I see we have one chat here that I didn't see. Okay, so we have a question for Classy, who I don't think is here right now, and I'll have to get back to you on this, but it's for Carol. And so I'll let you know, Carol, from Classy, the size of her piece called Flower Power. Who else has questions for somebody, or comments or thoughts that you'd like to share?
Pamela, your Black Lives Matter poster.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing that with us? Maybe next week or whenever, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, that's her most current piece. And I toyed with bringing that into the show because she had sent it right simultaneously, but because it's her brand new one, we haven't showed it in class, but it will be in our presentation next week. And I thought it was hard to see at that small size. But yeah, it represents the political and activist side of Pamela, which is an important part of you. So we definitely will be seeing that piece, Shirley. And Pamela, did you have anything else you wanted to share on creating that piece, the Black Lives Matter collage?
Yeah, doing it in a realist manner. When I started, I was just thinking it was going to be a collage. And then it became something more than that. This one image of this gentleman who's in a lot of pain and has his body, and then I saw this picture of handcuffs on a person, and it just became like, oh my God, that, puts together, and then 3 or 4 faces that came together that were combined. So yeah, it was really an interesting thing. It's kind of like when I did my George Floyd piece. It kind of is a I don't know, kind of a meditation to let go and just
as soon as she finishes talking, I don't want to leave the middle of
put it ideas what's in my head. So yeah, there it is.
Yeah, a preview of coming attractions. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
For asking.
It's an important thing that another art has lots of outcomes for us personally and for those that view it, but certainly it's a way to express so many levels of who we are and what we care about. So appreciate that. Who else has some thoughts I'd like to share? Alina?
Yeah, I was just wondering how many people in the group had an art class before Art with Elders, and how many had not? How many started with Art with Elders?
Raise your hand if you were a brand new artist or had very little experience when you joined our class. Raise your hand if you feel that you had not much art experience prior. So we've got a few, we've got a mixture, and then there's a few other folks that aren't here today. So maybe a third of our team had really very little experience, I would guess, Alina. And Alina, for you guys, Alina Trobridge, she's our grant writer and part of our Art with Elders team. She's a wonderful teammate and friend of ours, and she's an integral part, excited about our program, and she helps us with our funding, with our grant writing, and many other things. And so we appreciate you for all you do, Alina, and your support, and for being here today, being such a great supporter of the arts and for our program, Art with Elders.
Yeah, Thank you.
Thank you.
The only classes that I personally ever had was clay ceramic workshops and clay monoprint workshops. I never went to a watercolor class or oil class, or, you know, this was the first time I actually sat in a room and somebody said, now pick up the paintbrush and try this and try that and try the other.
I'll go just real quickly. Mine is more of a comment, and Alina's always a tough act to follow. But as someone else who is somewhat responsible for the the continued productivity and life that Art with Elders provides, I want to say how proud I am of the group, and the work I'm seeing is just really amazing. It makes me feel so good about what we do, to not only see the work, but to hear the responses. I know Darcy's a rock star teacher, but it's also amazing to hear such support for her, and just the camaraderie that you all have, the courage I see in your willingness to try new things, and to express your appreciation of your friends and fellow artists' work. And just, the technical expertise, it's astonishing to me. I'm so glad Alina asked that very prescient question. How many of you have not had art training? Because, it's kind of astonishing to see the level of expertise. I wanted to finally wrap up by saying, Shirley and Gail both brought up this thing that I've been struggling with. And it's almost a little bit of guilt, like appreciating the fact that we have this opportunity, those of us who are creative at heart, to kind of really dig into the creative process without the obstruction of the daily routines and all of that chaos that's going on outside. We're very blessed, I think, those of us who are not struggling immediately with our own personal health struggles or with friends or families, but I'm sure that, the guilt I feel that there's a great deal of suffering out there is a small part to play, compared to the joy that is found with all of this creativity that's happening now, and I hope will continue to happen. So I'm just really grateful for all of you and for the program and for Darcy, and thank you for what you're doing, and know that you are supported, and we're really happy to have you as part of our program. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, some of you have met Mark before. He's been in our class, and you know him as our Art with Elders Executive Director, and he's a Program Director at Laguna Honda. And Laguna Honda, as many of you know, is a hospital residential situation in San Francisco, and they are preparing to reopen. Everybody's vaccinated, and Mark is starting to get traction to get back in and work with people that he hasn't seen for a year. They weren't so fortunate as us to have the ability to get online. People there need a lot of assistance, and they weren't able to get everybody up on an online situation such as we have. And there are many students that I've worked with in the past that also haven't been able to get online. So that's going to be a challenge for us going forward. We'll definitely plan on resuming in-person classes. We'll also maintain online classes, and hopefully develop and build in both of those, and grow and help more seniors and others get involved, get online capability just to be connected to the world, because the connection for us to be able to meet has been so powerful. I know when we first heard about COVID and Mark and I found out we would have to cancel everything, it was very, very alarming for so many reasons. But very shortly thereafter, I was able to connect to Larry and Susan, who I'm sorry couldn't be here today. Larry is very tech savvy, and the two of us were able to get up on Zoom very quickly, and that's how the class got started. And so it's awesome, the opportunities that it's provided, this online situation, and we'll try to continue to offer it and let it grow. So and thank you again, Mark, for being here and being such a great support and program lead. We love what we do. We love our program, and we believe in it. And and I would like to just say hi to Catherine, who's here. She's going to be an intern with us. She's starting a student at Columbia University. Catherine, do you want to unmute yourself and just say hi?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for sharing your work. It was all very beautiful.
Awesome. Thanks. I'm enjoying your sunshine scene out there. Good for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. That's pretty much all we have. I don't mean to cut off questions. I'm just conscious of the time. I had planned for the class to end, or the event to end today at 3 o'clock. And as you know, we normally go till 3:30. So I'm quite flexible if people would like to stay on and ask more questions. If you need to get on and get on with your day, that's fine too. So I'd love to get a question from Kay's cat, though. I want to know, what does Kay's cat think?
I'm going to say thank
He thinks we're all perfect.
Yeah, there you go. This is a super cat group in here, you guys. We know it. We love our pets and animals, and there's a lot of very strong cat love in here. So
I have an allergic reaction every time we talk about them.
Yeah, right. My bird gets real nervous.
Right?
Yeah, Shirley's bird is part of the class too.
I have to go.
Okay, great to see you, Shirley.
I'm gonna go too, guys. Thank you for everything, Darcy and Mark and Alina and all of my participants in the class. You make my day. I am just opening up in all kinds of creative ways after being asleep for a long time.
Awesome. Love to see you and have you here, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you so much for assembling this. It must have been so much work to put it together. It was just beautiful, and I appreciate everybody sharing their work so much. It was very inspiring.
Well, thanks so much, Paula. I'm excited to put up the show, the full show, and it'll be a full feature on the Open Studios program in a general way. So we'll have all this work, and then some. I'll have an opportunity to share more of your pieces, which I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you for all your contributions and upbeat self, Paula. Good to see you today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, folks.